Welcome to UnJustified, where we always cover the truth, the facts, the good, the bad, the ugly, on an unbiased and sometimes very unpopular opinion. If you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe now and hit the notification bell, and that way you will receive all of our upcoming videos. Thank you so much for being here, and we do hope you enjoy today's video. The Kennedy family. The Kennedy family is both rich in monetary and social sense. The family is one of the greatest symbols of the American dream. Their roots are firmly planted in the realm of politics. There has been a Kennedy in an elected federal position from 1947 all the way to 2011. Joseph and Rose Kennedy gave birth to a President of the United States, 2 U.S. ambassadors, a lieutenant governor, 2 state legislators, and 1 mayor. However, there was one member of the Kennedy family that even the most enthused American historians may not recognize. Rosemary Kennedy. She is the sister of John, Ted, and Robert Kennedy, but she is almost never mentioned when it comes to members of the family. While one may say this as an indication that she was simply an unimportant person, Rosemary's legacy is one of total heartbreak, tragedy, and abuse. Rosemary Kennedy's beginning was very difficult. She was born on September the 18th of 1918. She suffered from a severe loss of oxygen at birth, which this would cause her to become intellectually disabled. Mary's IQ was said to be around 60 or 70, placing her mental age at around 8 to 12 years old. Rosemary worked very hard trying to impress her parents through her studies, but the Kennedys saw her as an embarrassment and one who did not fit the Kennedy image. The family would oftentimes lie about her intellectual problems, saying that she was studying to be a kindergarten teacher. And despite this, Rosemary was presented to King George VI and Queen Elizabeth when her father served as a U.S. ambassador to the UK. Rosemary studied the elaborate curtsy she was to perform before the court for hours. Both biographers and press knew very little about her, but cited her as being the most beautiful of all of the sisters. Rosemary's eagerness and desire to please and impress eventually faded as she realized that she was simply unwanted by her family. Her behavior became volatile and unpredictable as she became a more rebellious and assertive person. The family, desiring her to be more like her goal-oriented, ambitious siblings, decided that something had to be done to protect the Kennedy family's reputation. At the age of 23, Rosemary was set to undergo a lobotomy. This is a dangerous, unpredictable, and at the time, experimental procedure. Her father did not inform her mother until after the procedure was already performed. Rosemary was strapped to an operating table, and while she was still conscious and awake, given a lobotomy, and was asked various questions to judge the progress. According to one of the doctors, he said, quote, "We went through the top of the head. I think she was awake. She had a mild tranquilizer. I made a surgical incision in the brain through the skull. It was near the front. It was on both sides. We just made a small incision, no more than an inch. We asked her questions, and as she answered them, they sliced away at her brain, scraping off pieces until she was incoherent. This procedure was a massive failure, and Rosemary's mental age decreased from 8 to 2. She was then rendered unable to speak and walk. When this happened, the Kennedy family's desire to get rid of Rosemary had finally reached its peak. She was immediately institutionalized and forgotten about by the family. Her mother did not visit her for 25 years, and her father never visited her. The family told the press that Rosemary was away and teaching intellectually disabled children. The only member of the family that ever showed an interest in Rosemary was her sister, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, to go on and create the Special Olympics in her memory. Even despite Rosemary's horrific condition, she would go on to live until the age of 86, and she died in 2005 due to natural causes. Very few people even knew of Rosemary's existence, and therefore there was few that knew about her death. Rosemary's story was to never be told for fear of tainting the reputation of the Kennedy family, and she was to be forgotten, just as her family intended her to be. Even though Rosemary has long since passed, it's imperative that we never forget her. The atrocities committed by both the Kennedy family and the doctors who performed the failed operation must be forever remembered as a grim reminder of something that we can never let happen again. Yes, it is very uncomfortable to remember the cruelty that was faced by an innocent woman, but we must if we are able to fix these fatal flaws in our society. Rosemary remained largely out of the public eye for more than 40 years. Her condition became public in 1960, just after her brother John was elected president. She was mentioned in a publication of a medical magazine that the president-elect has, quote, a mentally retarded sister who is in an institution in Wisconsin, end quote. In 1961, Rosemary's sister Eunice revealed more about her sister's story, and she said, quote, early in Rosemary's life she was different. She was slower to crawl, slower to walk and speak. Rosemary was mentally retarded, end quote. As Rosemary got older, her father was worried that her mild condition could lead her into situations that could damage the family's reputation. Rosemary was a woman, and there was a dread fear of pregnancy, disease, and disgrace. And Rosemary had started sneaking out of the convent where she was staying at the time. Doctors told Joe Kennedy that a lobotomy, a medical procedure in which the frontal lobes of a patient's brain are scraped away, would help his daughter and calm her down because the family was finding her difficult to handle at home. Even though Rosemary was hidden from the public eye for more than 40 years, during the 80s, Eunice was getting Rosemary involved more in the lives of her siblings and their children. She attended family gatherings. She was one of the first people a lobotomy was ever performed on, scraping away parts of her brain while she was still conscious and awake. Maybe that is why there is the thing that many people believe today that is called the Kennedy curse. Maybe it's not the Kennedy curse. Maybe it is a little thing called karma. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, this is Unjustified. Thank you so much for watching, and do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and leave us a comment below on your thoughts of this video. And until next time, this is Unjustified.